Hi everyone, my name is Andrew and this channel is called Collective Intelligence, and today we're going to be making a drum beat inside of Ableton Live. So I'm going to be teaching you, as though you were a beginner and you've never used the software before, how to step by step make a drum pattern. And the drum pattern won't specifically be a particular type of style or genre that maybe you like, but I'll teach you the principles, and I'm going to show you some ways that you can find the drum patterns that you may actually want to make. And it'll make it very simple for you to get the result you want. So let's go ahead and get started inside of Ableton. So here we are with Ableton opened in front of us. Now I've got mine full screened. You press F11 to go full screen. And in this case, you should be looking at the screen. If you're not looking at the screen, go F11, or maybe you'll just see it. Go File, go New Live Set, and open up fresh like so. Now, we are going to be using Ableton just as it is. We're not going to be changing any of the windows or anything. We can do everything that we need as it is right now. So there's a couple things that we need to take into consideration. There's a lot of buttons and everything everywhere, and that could be quite overwhelming because you're looking at it all and you're saying, what the hell is all of that? We don't need to worry about 99% of what's on the screen. Well, let's say 90% of what's on the screen. So the first thing that we want to pay attention to is the fact that we've got these colored kind of strips here. So these are each individual audio or MIDI channel. And in this case, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So we've got 2 MIDI, 2 audio. And we are going to be using a drum kit inside of Ableton Live to program our drum pattern. And that drum kit is actually going to be a sort of like a sampler. It's a MIDI instrument that we're going to be putting MIDI information into, which will then trigger the sounds to play. So MIDI is essentially a digital signal that is being sent to a particular instrument, and that digital signal is sending it instructions, right? So we're using MIDI and we're going to be writing the instructions for this little drum kit to play the particular pattern. And this will make more and more sense as we continue to build the pattern. We start pulling the instrument in and doing what we need. So in this case, your Ableton may not look the same color as mine as well. I've changed the color and the settings and stuff, and I've got videos on how to do that. So search that up on my channel if you would like. So I can go ahead and delete by selecting the title and pressing the delete button. So I'm going to delete those other channels, and I'm just left with one MIDI channel. And if you accidentally delete all the MIDI channels in this gray area, you can use the right click on your mouse and you can insert a new MIDI track by doing that, right? So we'll just delete that. We only want one. And we'll come over here and we're going to be looking at the browser window, right? So this is showing us everything that we've got inside of our Ableton. And if you don't see that, there's a little arrow here that you should always see, right? And that will open or collapse the browser. So in the browser, we can look at categories, and in this case, we're talking about drums. So we're going to come to the drum category. And for you guys watching at home, you're likely to see the 606, the 707, the 808, or the 909. You may need to scroll through to find them, but you should see them. And in this case, we can go ahead and actually click on the particular drum kit, and it will audition, right? We can hear that playing. And if you don't hear that playing, then you've likely got some problems with your audio setup. And you may need to go into your preference settings and play around with that. So preferences you'll find in the menu up here. And the video is not on how to set up your audio, so we're not going to get into that. So we're auditioning this, but I actually don't just want a pretty sort of boring, standard sounding drum kit. So if you're looking for something a bit more adventurous with your drum sounds, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to find more interesting drum sounds. So let's do it. I'll just jump over into Google Chrome and we'll go to a website and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So here we are with Ableton's website open in front of us. And in this case, I've come to packs and I've listened through a bunch of the packs and I've actually found one that's more suited to my taste, right? So drum and bass, jungle, dubstep, and metal, right? So dubstep and metal in particular, these are two genres that I'm quite interested in. So I wanted to show you guys that you can actually go onto Ableton's website and get quite tough samples from here. So in this case, we can actually just have a quick listen and audition. Right, so it's more of a electronic oriented sounding drum kit. It's got a tougher sound than those 909s or 808s. So that's what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to come back into my Ableton. And just quickly, if you've got one of these, there's a couple of ways that you can quickly pull in your 909. So I'm going to be using a different drum kit. If you don't have the drum kit that I've got, just use one of these. That's fine. So you would just click, you could drag it, and you could just drop it out into this area. So I'm clicking that, I'm holding, and I'm dragging, and then I can drop it, right? And what you'll notice is it actually makes a new channel for me, and it names it even, the 909 kit, because that's what I pulled out. And then down here, you can actually see the MIDI instrument or the sampler or, you know, the drum kit. It's a couple of different ways that you could call this particular rack. So it's a drum rack in Ableton's language. It's a sampler in a lot of ways because it's got samples loaded into it that you can trigger. So we've pulled it in and we've dropped it and we've made a new channel for it. So I'm just going to click the title of it again and press delete on my keyboard to get rid of it. It's another way I could do it. I could select the channel that I want the instrument to go on and I could double click it, right? That's another way to do it. And if I want to delete the instrument off of the channel itself, just click it, press delete, right? So now it's empty. I didn't delete the channel, but I deleted the instrument off the channel. There's another way that I know as well. Click, drag, and actually just drop it on the channel, right? So what we're looking at here, like I mentioned, is the drum rack. And if we look at these here, you'll notice there's a lot of titles and it's describing the names of the different drum hits available to us. So in this case, if we press the little play button here, it auditions the kick drum, the snare, the rim, the snare, the clap, all of this, right? So I'm going to go ahead and grab the drum kit that I like, and I've got those Matter Beats drum kits here. There's one of them. There's another one. I like that one. So I'm going to delete the 909. I'm going to grab the noise kit and I'm going to drop it on the channel. And here we are. Nice. See that kick's got some real heft to it. Right. So I have all of these sounds. Now, how do I actually start to make a pattern? Well, we would need to create a MIDI clip. As I was talking about before, this is a MIDI channel, and we need to arrange the pattern inside of a MIDI clip so that we can then play it through. So if I double click in this area, it's made this purple looking thing. And in this case, it's called a clip, right? So down here, you can now see that we're looking at what seems to be some kind of piano roll, right? And I can put my cursor here, click that, pull that open, and then you'll see all of the instruments or the names of all of the different piano keys refer to all of the different names we've got here. So when we are on a MIDI channel and we have the MIDI clip selected, we have two windows down the bottom here available to us. We've got the instrument view or the effect view window, which is this tab here, which you should be able to see just underneath my watermark that I've got down here. And then you've got the second tab next to it, and this is the clip view. So when we've got the clip selected, that's what shows up. If I select the blank area, there's no clip selected, so nothing shows up, right? So you always need to have a clip selected in order to be able to see this piano roll. If you deselect it, don't expect to see something. So click it. If I've got the channel selected, then I can see the instrument that's on it. If there's no instrument on it, obviously it'll say, you know, drop an instrument or audio effect here. Cool. So coming back over to the clip that we've got selected, we can see all of the different sounds down the side, and then we can see what is like a grid kind of sequencer. And what we're looking at right now is 1 bar of musical time. So this is 1 beat inside of a bar, and then 1.2 is the second beat, 1.3 is the third beat, 1.4 is the fourth beat, and then we start again at the beginning of the beat. And in this window here, you can see that we've got this looping. So this particular clip, I can deselect it so that it would just play through once, or I can click loop so that will keep playing around and around. And I can change the length of the loop. So in this case, it's starting at 1, 1, 1, and it's going for a length of 1 bar, right? So I can click this and I can say I want it to go for 2 bars. So then it goes 2, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, all the way to the end is full 2 bar length. 3 bars, 4 bars, etc., etc., right? So we'll just use 1 bar. And then you can see that we've got this 1 bar selected here, but we can see all of this extra space now because we increased that length. I don't want to see it anymore, so I right click, crop clip, and we're back to just looking at the 1 bar that we want. So the next thing that I'll attract your attention to is that there's this little sort of headphone looking button here. If you click that, it goes blue. And when it's blue, you can press on the piano keys and the corresponding sound will play. Great. So if that's not turned on, you can't audition. So that allows you to audition. Great. So I can use the mouse wheel to scroll through if I don't see them all, or I can grab this and make it bigger so I can see it. But because I've got my camera set up here, I just want to keep it nice and tidy. So I'll just scroll through them, but you can make that bigger if you need. So the next thing we would want to pay attention to as well is the BPM, because when we're making a beat, the beats per minute matters, so how fast our beat is going to be. And that would be determined by, in a lot of cases, the style that we're trying to recreate. So what I'll do next is I'm going to go to another website and show you guys a very handy tool for drum patterns. So we'll jump over there and we'll take a look. So a while back I found this website. It's called Quadraphone, and they've got a drum section that you can go to, and they've got a bunch of MIDI patterns for electronic dance music, which is pretty handy. What's even more handy is it's actually on Ableton's template. So it makes a lot of sense. You can see 1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, the end of the bar. So we could make a house beat or a drum and bass beat or a dubstep beat, trance beat, whatever, right? Maybe we could make a hip hop beat. Hip hop is pretty popular, and the pattern's quite straightforward. So we're going to be placing a kick at the beginning of the beat on the 1, right? So the downbeat. There's going to be a snare on 1.2, which is the backbeat. And then there's going to be a kick at 1.3. And then there's going to be another kick that follows closely after, right? And then another snare on the backbeat. And then we've got hats at play and an open hat, right? So first we'll arrange our kicks and our snares. So let's jump back into Ableton again, and we'll start arranging everything. Great. So we can right click on the grid down here, and we can change the divisions that we're seeing, right? So at the moment, we've got divisions of 16th notes, right? So in a bar of music, there's 16th note divisions. There's 8th note divisions, right? And if I right click, I change it. Right? So I right click, I clicked 1/8, now it's 1/8. Right click, 1/4, now it's 1/4. So quarter beats, right? So we can keep it on 1/6. So again, our kick was at the 1. I double clicked in order to create that. And I double clicked on I double clicked on the piano key, let's say, that it's supposed to be on. Because if I clicked up here, I would have put in some random snare, right? So I can double click it to remove it, double click to remove, double click to place. I can put my cursor at the end to drag it to make it longer. It's a sample, it's just going to play for the length that the sample actually is in this case. And I can click it and I can just drag it around and I can move it anywhere that I like, right? Well, it's snapping to the division that I've got set, which is again 16th note, right? And I want it to be rigidly in time, you know? So the kick goes there. And then if you remember, the snare was on the backbeat. So this is the snare that I want. And then it was a kick and a kick and another snare on the backbeat. Right, so now we've got that arranged and we can set our BPM and that said 80 to 100. So let's go in the middle and I click that and I can either click and hold and drag my mouse down to go down, or I can go up to go up, right? Or I can just click it and with my keyboard I can type 90 and then I press enter and it puts 90 BPM in there. So now when I press play on the clip, we've got that typical sounding hip hop beat. If I make it 80 BPM, press play. Can press spacebar to pause, right? Stop, up the top to stop completely. Spacebar will start playing the clip once I've already started it, right? So if I come over here and press stop altogether, if I just press spacebar, nothing happens. I need to let it know that I want to play this clip, so I click it first. And then I can press spacebar to pause, spacebar to start it again, pause, start, as long as that green arrow is there, right? But yeah, if I want to just deactivate it altogether and stop altogether, I can press this little stop button here, which just stops all of the clips. Cool. Now, there were hi-hats as well that were a part of this pattern. That hi-hat's nice. So we'll use this one. So I'm going to go back to that website and just check the pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 closed hats and then an open hat. And then 7 more hats. Let's go back to Ableton. 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the open hat. Which one do I like? That one. Right, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we've copied the pattern exactly. Let's have a listen to it. Cool. So we've got a pattern, but you know, it's very robotic, but that's the principles of making a drum pattern. Okay. So now we're going to take it to another level. So that is just showing you how to make a very basic pattern by following a bit of a template. Of course, you can go in here and you can make your own kind of variations of it. If you select something that you've made and you press 0 on the keyboard, you deactivate it, right? So I can take that hat out and listen to it. Right? And all of a sudden, it's changed the rhythm. And that could be something interesting that we want. So I'll press 0 again to reactivate it. What I want to do now, though, is I want to show you something very cool about Ableton. And a lot of other DAWs do it as well. But it's something that's really useful to know in order to start making your beats sound a bit more human and a bit more groovy. So I'm going to go ahead and deactivate my camera so that you can see what's hiding behind my camera. Great, so I've disappeared. And what you can see here is what's called the groove pool. And if you don't see it, there's this little wave kind of icon that will open it up for you, right? So groove and swing is something that you can apply to a MIDI clip, such as this, and it will slightly adjust things like velocity. And what is velocity? Velocity is how hard that instrument is being played, right? So think of a snare drum on a drum kit. You can take the stick and you can whack it really hard and you're going to get a big bang, right? But you can also take it and you can hit it really lightly. So at the moment, all of these instruments that we're playing, the hi-hats, the snare, the kick, they're all getting triggered at the exact same velocity. So it sounds very robotic because no human can hit an instrument or strum an instrument at the exact same intensity every single time. Some people can get very close. But another thing as well is the quantization or the timing of the music. So how often do you find a human that has perfect musical timing? That doesn't exist, but there are some that are very good, right? So we're going to play with this a little bit and we're going to create swing, right? Swing means that things slowly sort of move out of time and then pull back into time, right? So you're creating a rhythmic ebb and flow that doesn't exist currently in what we're listening to because it's robotic and it's perfectly in time. So if I right click in here, I can go browse the groove library. And here we got this. And check this out because we got hip hop. So I've never used these before. So let's open that up. And if we click on one of these, we'll hear it auditioning in areas. Right, so it's just little clicks, but you notice some clicks are a bit louder than others. So what we'll do is we'll grab, or we could double click it, and we've dropped it here into our groove pool. And we've got the timing, the quantization, the random, the velocity, everything here. So if I turn some of this up, I want the velocity to affect it, you know, quite severely, let's say 50%. And let's turn the quantize up a bit, if it has quantization. And so now it's going to apply this to the clip that I tell it to go to. So I click it, I drag it, and I'm going to drop it on top of this particular clip, right? So down here, you can see the groove is hip hop 1. And if I click commit, you'll notice that it's done a bunch of things. It's all of a sudden it's moved and it's sort of changed the lengths. But if we zoom in, it's no longer perfectly on the beginning of the beat, right? And here, these are the little velocity indicators, right? So these are indicating from 1 to 127. It's like on a scale of 1 to 127, how hard is it being hit, right? So that's a little bit softer, that's a bit harder, that's a bit softer, that's a bit harder, right? And 1 to 127 is MIDI, what I was talking to you about. So MIDI sends values between 1 and 127 for certain parameters like this, velocity, but also then the notes on the keyboard. You've got note 1 all the way up to 127. Each different number relates to a different note, etc., etc. So now let's have a listen to this. So congratulations. You have made your first drum beat inside of Ableton Live. And it wasn't that hard. And we actually did somewhat advanced techniques to it. With that velocity in particular, that's something that you need to start getting in your head straight away because it's going to make your music better right from the get-go. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope it was really helpful for you. If you like the content, subscribe, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and keep up to date with all of the new tutorials that I'm releasing. Take care. I'll see you soon.